Hey everyone, it's Brent with solutionsforsmallbiz.com. Today's video I want to talk a little bit about just my general thoughts on advertising. I've been in advertising sales and had my own business for nearly 20 years. So I've done a lot of different types, and I've seen a lot of different businesses succeed and fail for many different reasons. But I've learned a lot about different types of advertising over that time span. And what I think is important is to have somebody that gives you kind of an unbiased opinion of what works and what doesn't work. The things I'm going to talk about doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for you or right for your business. I'm just giving you examples and things, just my general thoughts on it. But what happens is most of the time when you have people come into your office selling you these different types of advertising mediums I'm going to talk about, you can never get an unbiased opinion because everybody's the best. Everybody has their own reason why you should buy them. So basically what I'm trying to do is just give you an unbiased opinion on what different types of advertising there is. I'll start with Yellow Pages. It wasn't that long ago that Yellow Pages used to be if you wanted to be a successful business in your area, that you had to have a presence in Yellow Pages. People still use the Yellow Pages, but that demographic is getting older every year, and the new demographic, they may use the Yellow Pages, but they use the online Yellow Pages. So there's still a market for Yellow Pages. In some industries, it's still a little more useful than others, but it's trending down. And I've got friends of mine that are still in the Yellow Page business, and they talk about that. They've gone to looked at a lot of different areas, a lot of different revenue streams than just their Yellow Pages, because it's just declining every year. So I think there's still room to have something, a real small presence in there, so when people are flipping through, they can find you. But the days of having to have a full page ad in there to be successful, it's just not the case anymore. Direct mail is the next one, and direct mail I always thought was the toughest to figure out because it can be very effective, but the problem is it's so inconsistent. So you can do a direct mail piece and maybe spend $1,500 or $1,000 and get a huge return on your investment one time. So you're all excited and you go back and you do it again, and the next one you get nothing, and you in your mind you're thinking, how is this possible? I've got roughly the same coupon or the same ad, but it's just hard. It's just so hard because the people that are getting the direct mail, you get them all the time. Sometimes you throw them away. There's a few that you look at. Sometimes you can do a direct mail campaign and just not get anything from it, and it's very frustrating because it can be very successful. And I did several of those through my business, and I've had a couple that were really successful, and the other ones that just didn't do anything. So it can be very frustrating when dealing with direct mail. TV is, I think TV and radio are probably it's probably the one advertising medium that can take your business to the next level. Now, the difficulty with it is, especially for a lot of small businesses, you're starting on a shoestring budget, and TV advertising and radio to some extent can be very expensive. And so in your mind, yes, you would love to do all these things, but it takes money to do that. And TV, the most important thing about television advertising is to be consistent. The one mistake I hear all the time is that, I tried TV. I did a couple $100 a month for like 3 months, and I just didn't see anything in it. And that's the problem. Because in TV, you need to, basically what you're doing is building your brand. And in order to build your brand, you need to be consistent. Consistent in the day parts that you're in, consistent on how much you advertise throughout a week. There's lots of different components, but you have to be consistent. People have to see you continually to build your brand. So what you have to think about the businesses the most successful businesses in your area, no matter what industry they're in. Think about, make a top three in each of your, and pick a couple industries and pick the top three businesses that you think of right off the top of your head. I guarantee you most of them have a strong TV campaign. And they also have something that a lot of people don't think about, which I'll talk about a little bit in a few minutes, talking about your commercial. They have a jingle that's really catchy, or a logo that's really catchy, something that stands out, and that's why you continually think about them. TV, in order to do it and be successful in it, you need to be consistent, but you need to use a budget, $500 to $750 a month, and make that a 3 to 6 month campaign. If you do that for a 3 to 6 month campaign, you will start to build your brand. The hard thing with TV is we are all about instant gratification. You just won't know how much business is being brought in from those TV commercials. You can ask and say, yeah, where'd you see us from? And they'll may tell you this. But the bottom line is they may have seen your commercial 3 times a month ago or last week, but then they were just stopping by and they said, well, I was just in the area, so I'd stop by. Well, the reason they stopped by is because they saw your commercial 3 times. And it was in your head. They saw your logo and you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that place. I'll stop in. So it's hard. TV is hard because you never know. It's initially or virtually impossible to track, but it can be very, very effective, and it's a great way to build your brand. Now, the one thing you need to think about is network television versus cable television. The big difference is cable television can be effective, but it doesn't have the news components, and a lot of times what they'll try to sell you for cable is really cheap advertising. The cheap spots don't get you much because you have to think about it. If they're giving you $5 spots and they're just going to throw them randomly on all cable channels, that's not going to get you anything because people may see it once, but they're not going to see you. If you do cable, you need to pick several programs and make sure it's a package where you're going to have continual presence in that program. Cable can be effective if you do it that way. If you do the shotgun approach, you're just wasting your money, and you'll spend $200 or $300 for 50 spots a week, but it won't get you anything. So that's something that you need to be careful and think about. Also, I referenced a little earlier, is your commercial. Commercial is the most important thing, and you don't have to be the creative type. I have a ton of people that say, I don't know what to do with the commercial. I can't figure it out. I'm not that kind of person. You don't have to be, but you have to be willing to ask for help. Friends, family, tell them you're thinking about doing a commercial, and you're looking for some different ideas and see what they have to come up with. I guarantee you, people will surprise you because they have their creative side, and the people that you may not think are creative, if you ask them, they'll give you some good ideas. The one thing there's 2 things that really to make sure your commercial is effective. One of 2 things: either humor or having a catchy jingle. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Is if you think about the top 3 businesses in an industry, what do you think about? What are the top 3 that fit or that come to your mind? Usually they're going to be ones that have a real catchy jingle, something you hear constantly on TV. Or if it's not the jingle, which most times, if you think about it, people think jingles are very expensive, and they are. You can do really elaborate jingles and make them very expensive. But if you Googled and you do a little research, you can usually find that you can do a jingle for not quite as much as you think it might be. And also humor. Think about the commercials, the ones that attract your attention the most. They're ones that have humor in it, just a little humor. They don't have to be a hilarious thing you're going to fall out of your chair laughing at, but you got to have a little humor in it. If you have a little humor in your commercial, people will remember it, and they're going to remember you and remember your brand. And that is very important with advertising, and that goes for radio too. Radio and TV, I feel, kind of come into the same. Newspaper. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on newspaper. Back in the 90s, we did quite a bit of newspaper, but it is kind of like the Yellow Pages has kind of seen its better days. There are some industries, I know some of you might be watching thinking that's not true. I do it all the time. There are some industries that you can still be effective in. But for the most part, the newspaper is not, and they'll try to spin it all they want, but the circulation decreases every year. It's not near as popular as it used to be. It used to be the most popular medium out there. It's just not anymore. So my feelings on newspaper are, if you can get great deals and you have a little extra and you want to try something new, that might be something to consider. But to make that part of your campaign is something that I would not suggest. The internet and Google. I think that the internet is something that a lot of times we overlook easily, and which is crazy to me because the internet is a huge part of our lives, but we tend to not think about it as much. Internet and advertising online, having your own website is very important. But one thing that you can do, especially locally, that people don't think about is advertising on other people's websites. For instance, I'll just give you an example of your local TV stations. Most of them have their websites. Actually, all of them have websites. You'd be so shocked at how much traffic those sites drive because, number one, their weather, their local news, they have a tremendous monthly viewing, and the page views are astronomical. But usually they're not very good at selling that. They're not good at selling their internet because they're a TV station. So you can usually go in there. They usually have a lot of areas that are open. This isn't true for all local stations, but you'll usually find a local station that's got a good presence, has good traffic, and you can cut a really good deal. If they say, yeah, I'll do it, we can do it for $500 a month, and I'll give you X amount of page views. Don't do it. You need to go in and negotiate, because I guarantee if you negotiate, you can get a good deal for that. And that's something that people need to think about. Also on the internet is, pay-per-click has been the big hype for the last 2 or 3 years, and a lot of yellow page companies now are including pay-per-click, or it's a variation of what they're offering and what they sell. My suggestion to you is to do a little bit of research on the pay-per-click if you want to do something like that and try it, because you can do it yourself. Set up your account. You can set up the amount you want to use per day and try it for a week and see if it drives any traffic. You can do it yourself and save so much money. You don't need other people to do that. It is so simple. If you just take the time to do the research online, you can find out how to do it yourself, and it will save you a lot of money, and it is worth trying. It's not going to be effective for everybody, but it's definitely worth trying to see if it's effective for your business. The last thing I'll talk about is email marketing. I think email marketing is something that people just kind of say, yeah, I'm sure it would work, but they don't aggressively use it. And the reason they don't is because the majority of the time, as my phone's vibrating in the background, I'm sorry about that. Hopefully that stops pretty soon. The majority of the time is email marketing. You're not thinking about what to do with that email list once you put it together. You should always be thinking about getting your current customers in their email list and building a database. And once you have a pretty good database built up, thinking about a good marketing strategy you can use for that market that you're in. And you can do that if you come up with 2 or 3 good ideas. Maybe there's something that you really want to push. If you're constantly just blasting stuff out to your customers, they're going to opt out and they're not going to want to be a part of it. But if you strategically set up a marketing campaign specifically for something in your store, whether it be a new service or a new product, you can use that, take your current customers and take advantage of them by using an email marketing system. Sign up with Aweber or iContact or something like that. You'd be really surprised how effective that can be, and that's relatively inexpensive, virtually free actually, if you depending on how many you have. So anyway, I just wanted to give you my thoughts on advertising. That doesn't cover everything, but that gives you kind of the basics on the main types, just from my experience. And I'm sure you'll find maybe some others with some varying opinions, but I at least wanted to give you kind of my idea and what I think has been what I've seen over the past 10 years, what be successful and what has not been so successful. So until next time, good luck with your business and have a great day.